Long live. Have a great day today. The Dead Sea is not a sea. And on the other hand, it is not the same as the name suggests, however, due to some tragic things that have happened in the present. Today, many people worldwide are investigating how the Dead Sea is dying and setting the stage for such things to happen. We are talking about what has caused this water source to dry up slowly, and we still have time to change the fate of the Dead Sea to a better one. Today we are talking about that and invite you to stay with the wonderful world until the last few seconds of the video. A sea that is not a sea. In Jordan, continue west. The depression is located in the middle of a valley. The Dead Sea borders Israel as well as the West Bank. As said at the beginning of this video, this is not a traditional normal sea. This is actually a salt lake spread over 800 square kilometers. It is world famous because of the extremely high salinity of the water. To be precise, it is a maximum of 33%, which is 10 times like the Mediterranean Sea. But the Dead Sea is the salinity of the world, not a high water source. La Crétola, Senegal. The salinity of the source water, which is very little, is actually much higher than that of the Dead Sea. But due to another factor, no other source of water in the world is capable of surpassing the Dead Sea. This is the lowest inland water source in the world. It is located about 400 meters below sea level. Then how did the Dead Sea get its name? Let's talk about the next one. Past reports have shown that this name has been used for it since time immemorial. This story seems to be true, but it seems at first glance that the Dead Sea does not know any life. But that is not true. There are no fish in this water source. But the animals that are well adapted to the harsh environmental conditions are from the Tamil Sea. In fact, there are some microorganisms found in the Dead Sea that have not been found anywhere in the world before. Because the salinity of the Dead Sea is so high that the density of the water is higher than the normal water source, it can get boring very easily. It is also considered that there is no chance for someone to drown in the Dead Sea. But there is no truth in this story either. Although it is easy to swim in the Dead Sea compared to other sources of water in the world, due to its high salinity, there have been cases of people drowning due to inflammation of the eyes. Especially, if a person who is floating in water loses his balance, he will be exposed to a large amount of salty water, and this situation can be fatal. If salty water gets into the lungs, it can eventually cause a lot of damage. On the other hand, as a tourist attraction, the salts of the Dead Sea have a beneficial effect on the human body, especially when people suffering from some skin diseases were cured by bathing in the Dead Sea. Due to these reasons, it is mentioned on the internet that only about 3 million tourists visit the Dead Sea in a year to see it and bathe there. In particular, it is said that they come here because this water has the power to cure diseases. However, you don't have to come to the Middle East to do this. In addition to the intention to cure these diseases that you can get from the medicine houses around the world that are extracted from the Dead Sea, there are now signs that tourists will have fun floating in the Dead Sea. That is the story that according to the scholars, the Dead Sea will completely dry up within 30 years from now. After that, the area will be left as a desert, a social, economic and ecological disaster. But who is destined to be the Dead Sea? Is the natural world heritage of the Dead Sea dying? And can it be saved? Let's find answers to those questions. What is this Dead Sea of death? The Dead Sea mainly gets its water from the River of Allegations. But the water supply to the Dead Sea has been decreasing for many years and decades. So, the main reason for the drying up of the Dead Sea is that the water it receives from this river is getting less and less. Israel, Syria, and Jordan use 95% of the water from this Jordan River because of the construction of canals for the drinking water needs of the people around the Dead Sea as well as for the crops. That means only a very small amount of this river reaches the Dead Sea. By the 1930s, 1,300 million cubic meters of water were entering the Dead Sea annually. Now that amount has come down to 310 cubic meters. In the 1990s, the water level of the Dead Sea dropped several meters every year. The speed is increasing more and more due to the fact that excrement evaporates more than the water it receives. There are other environmental damages related to this. After the water evaporated, the soil was deposited with a high concentration of salts. They dissolve in the remaining water and increase the concentration of salts. Not only is that, but due to the result of salt-mixed soil, the land collapsing from place to place in the places where the Dead Sea has settled. These are called sinkholes. Some of them are about 30 meters in diameter. Because of that, the surrounding soil is becoming barren, and only in the part of the land that belongs to Israel, about 6,000 such pits can be seen. These sinkholes have already affected the areas beyond the Dead Sea, and some food-sized roads and schools are already being spread here. For example, many factories have been set up around the Dead Sea to make fertilizers. What they are doing is constantly evaporating the Dead Sea water to extract the spent salt. To use the Dead Sea sustainably, Jordan and Israel have turned the southern part of the Dead Sea into many separate man-made evaporation ponds. So if that is the case, what are the solutions and risk factors? Basically, how can we prevent him from becoming a woman in that area after the Dead Sea dries up completely? There are two solutions. One of them is to increase the amount of water received by the river from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea. If this is done, a large amount of clean water will be available to the Dead Sea. Also, a group of scientists is currently talking about a concept of how to supply water to the Dead Sea through a giant pipe from the Red Sea. It is planned to be launched in parallel with the operation of a seawater desalination plant located in Akbar, a city in Jordan. What is actually happening here is pumping water with a high concentration of salt into the Dead Sea after desalting the water taken from the Red Sea and obtaining drinking water. At first glance, it seems that this can be done very easily, but environmental scientists are showing the world its seriousness. In other words, the work that is going to be done to bring life back to the Dead Sea may eventually destroy the ecosystems of the Dead Sea. The idea of building a canal connecting the Red Sea and the Dead Sea is the second story that has been discussed along with this. So this idea first came to the fore in the late 19th century. In fact, a very recent study with the help of the World Bank has created a very good picture in this regard. According to that study, this project can be done in a socially, ecologically, and economically advantageous manner without any hesitation. In its first step, 235 million cubic meters of highly concentrated Red Sea water will be added to the Dead Sea, and then 700 million cubic meters of water from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea. Sending. But the real story is that some parts of this have to be done, putting only optimism in front and groping in the dark, which means that until some of these steps are actually done, it is not possible to say how successful it will be. However, the water in the Dead Sea can become cloudy and raw, so somehow there is a risk of a natural disaster like an earthquake in building a pipeline from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea. This reed system can be damaged in some places, even suddenly, if such a thing happens and this highly concentrated water is added to the freshwater springs. All those sources will be destroyed. Looking at these matters, the most practical and safe thing to do is to increase the amount of water from the Jordan River to the Dead Sea. The idea of pumping water from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea. I have an idea of pumping water from the Mediterranean Sea to the Dead Sea. However, the idea of pumping water from the Red Sea is becoming less and less at the discussion tables. For Jordana, the desalination of seawater and the preparation of drinking water has become very important factor. The reason for this is that most of Jordan's natural freshwater sources have been destroyed. Israel's story is much different. Israel has more fresh water sources than Jordan, so they have to desalinize the seawater, and the highly concentrated salt water that is formed in that way does not return to the sea. The political conflicts with Jordan will not be touched by any means. Jordan has reached the final stage of the proposed desalination plant, so they can send highly concentrated saline water to the Dead Sea in the future. However, at present, the future of the Dead Sea looks bleak. Jordan's Minister of Water Supply and Irrigation, Mossam Sabin, says that the hopes of saving the Dead Sea are fading day by day.